G'day and welcome to Retire Right. Today I've got a very special guest with me. It's my father, Howard. How you going, Dad?
Good, thanks, Warren. Yeah.
So today I thought it would be a great opportunity to get Dad on and talk about his story. One of his stories is a pretty typical retirement planning story, and one that's been pretty critical over my career over the last sort of 13 years or so. And I'd really like to share his experiences and the process and thoughts that he went through as he approached retirement and what he's done since then. So Dad, you've been a lecturer at Dookie College for a number of years.
Yes. My time at Dookie was really split into two halves. The first 10 years or so I was managing one of the farm enterprises and doing some lecturing in part of that job as well. Then we had 12 months at Scotland, do you remember? Mm-hmm. And then I came back and then I spent the next part of the life. It ended up being about 24 years I had at Melbourne Uni. At Dookie College when I was on the academic staff and basically lecturing all the time there.
So how did it come about that you decided that it was time to finish up there?
Well, I'd always wanted to do something else other than just what I'd done at Dookie, and I suppose I was looking for the opportunity to make the break, but and also I felt that as Melbourne University came on and took over the agricultural college more, it was moving away from where I'd started with the college, and I didn't see that there was a lot of future in it for me. Mm-hmm. And so I took that opportunity to make the break. And in the meantime, I'd done some study. I'd studied agribusiness as a graduate diploma, and also I did a Bachelor of Education, and I specialised in primary school teaching. I always thought I'd be good at primary school teaching.
Okay.
So I planned to go into that primary school teaching side of things. Yeah.
So that was after a pretty long career then. It was a big decision to be able to go through and take on that opportunity.
Yes, it was. It was a big break, but it was also something that I had been wanting to do previously. And so, I felt really good about the change and opportunities.
So it's something you clearly planned for in some degrees by doing that extra study and things like that. So was it clearly a big step, and how did you approach it? Who did you speak to in relation to how to go about it, and what was the?
Well, once the opportunity became available, I then spoke to a financial planner, and they worked through what package was available and the benefits of it. Well, really just checking out and confirming with me the thought that it could work in our situation. Yeah. And so we went from there, really. And I was very lucky because I had a 2-year opportunity there when I had made the decision, but before it was actually implemented. And so, there was a good opportunity to really settle in. I used it to do a bit of teaching and in the primary school situation, and I felt comfortable enough when the actual time of departure from Dookie came about.
So what was the first stage after that? So what did you go on and do? You actually did some
Yes, I did a term at Dookie Primary, and I found that primary school teaching was a very difficult job. The constant contact with the little kids, and it was just so over the top and compared to my previous experience, and I just felt I was working so hard. And at that stage in my life, it wasn't really what I wanted. I'd sort of, and luckily the job came up with the library, the regional library, driving the mobile library van, and even more luckily, I got the job, and so I was able to go into that, and so I was doing that 3 days a week.
So it was a conscious decision to keep working, even though potentially you didn't necessarily financially need to keep working?
I think so. I didn't really want to make a complete break, and I had this plan that I was going to continue on working for a number of years. There was never really a feeling of whether I needed the money or not. It was just a matter of I still felt very young in myself, I suppose, and I didn't feel like I was at a retirement age.
And that would have been a pretty powerful position to be in, really, to be able to sit back and say that now we're financially stable and financially able to survive. You're able to do more choice about what you wanted to actually do with the next stage of your life after spending so much time lecturing.
Yeah, well, we had been very lucky, really, in terms of both Diane and I had been able to maintain full employment all the way through our working lives, except Diane had, quite a period off of parental leave while you and Megan were born, and while you were preschool. But other than that, we had a long, steady employment history, and so we were in a comfortable position. The other thing was too, of course, we were living near Shepparton, and so we weren't having to face the extreme housing, the cost of housing that you've had to deal with when you're in the city, And so we were in a reasonable position there that we felt we could sort of build from there. Yeah.
And I guess a lot of our clients, as they get into that sort of situation, their purpose in life is definitely changing as you move from full-time employment to part-time employment. So you're not working necessarily full-time now. How did you go with that transition? So how many days are you doing now?
Well, once again, I merged into that because I did the library job for 3 days a week, and then I was teaching in adult education for the other 2 days. And I did that for a couple of years, and then I just gradually let that adult education slip by. And so I then now for 10, 12 years or so, I've been doing just 3 days a week, and it's just a fantastic lifestyle.
Yeah.
It gives me, we live on a few acres, and so it gives me the opportunity, a couple of days regularly, plus the weekends, to get those sort of essential jobs done that I want to get done and have done without the pressure that I used to have when I was working 5 days a week. I only had the weekends to really get things done and get things over. The other thing was too, though, that's I've been bike riding for 14 or 15 years, I suppose, and so I do a regular bike ride on Wednesday and then on Saturday morning, and that's just fits in so well with that too.
So it gives you've got some real structure to your week, clearly, and that's what sort of, I guess, has helped you that transition through that period. Yeah. So as part of this whole process, what would you say some of the big challenges were? I mean, obviously you've spent a lot of time setting yourself up and putting some planning in place to ensure that you were able to do this sort of transition from full-time work to part-time work. Looking back on it, would there be many things that you would have done differently?
No, I really just feel I've been so fortunate in the way that it's panned out. I mean, the people I work with at the library are just really nice people. They're providing a service which the clients appreciate, and so you get a nice lot of feedback from the clients, and so it's just a very pleasant. It's not a high-powered thing by any means, and perhaps I wouldn't have liked to have had to do it all the way through my life. I'm really pleased to be doing it at the end of my working time.
So when you started to do the part-time employment, how long were you expecting that you would do it for compared to what you've been doing 12 years or so now?
Yeah, about 13, I think. I just thought perhaps I might have done it for 5 years.
Yeah.
But it's been so good, and this 3 days a week is so good that I haven't really any plans to finish it, stop it,
And I guess it sounds like they've been reasonably flexible too, because obviously you and Mum have done a fair bit of travelling and stuff around Australia and a couple of overseas trips and things like that.
Yeah.
So.
That is, we've got a nice team of people who work on the mobile library, but also we've got some other people who we can call on to cover us when we're having any leave off. And basically, I think originally they were thinking that I would help cover the guy I job share with. If he had time off, but basically I take the attitude, well, no, I'm doing my 3 days and we get other people to do any extras.
So given that you've been so successful in continuing to work for 10 years more than you originally planned for, what's the likelihood and how long do you expect to continue to work for?
Well, I'll do another couple of years, I think. I think that's our plan. Probably we haven't got any set time when we're going to say Charlie, but I think a couple of years extra is probably what we'll end up doing. What we've done a trip overseas, a couple of trips overseas, and we've done a few trips within Australia. We've got other areas further away in Australia, up in northern Queensland and across, through the north, west of Western Australia and so forth, that we'd like to get to if we can.
Tick the bucket list off.
Yeah. So we're doing that sort of that camping. We'll take longer times off, and eventually we'll get to a stage where haven't got any long service leave anymore, and we'll probably at that stage say, well, we might finish off and we'll just go our own way.
Yeah. So if we were to sit here in 5 years' time, what would be an ideal scenario for you, do you think? Do you think that if you look back and say that was a really great 5 years, we've talked about what you've done previously, what are the next 5 years and bucket lists that you want to tick off, or what are the goals that you want to achieve over the next 5 years?
Well, I haven't got any too big of plans, I don't think. I'm just so pleased with how things are going that we'll get into retirement, full-time retirement, do a couple of longer trips there, maybe fit in an overseas trip again there, and then continue on. We're out of town at the moment. The trend is to go into town and downsize a bit. That may be one of the strategies we'll employ too.
The guys in the office would be a bit disappointed with that. That would mean the end of the olive oil that you've been making for the last few years. Do you want to just share how that, I guess, is another little project that you've sort of undertaken since giving up full time in work?
Yeah, well, originally I think I planned to plant a few olive trees with the view to improving the capital value of the property and to give a potential buyer, the opportunity that it can provide a bit of a lifestyle thing. But actually, as it's turned out to be a bit of a lifestyle for us as well. And we pick a few olives. We have a team come around, pick the olives and process it into oil with one of our neighbours who is into that, and then we're able to share that around the family and close friends and relatives.
So clearly, I guess, to summarise really what we've spoken about, it seems that having a good plan in place has been pretty important to have the success that you've had in retirement. Making sure that you've got some structure to your week still, so that you still got some purpose and things like that in your work, and doing something that you're obviously enjoying and giving back to the community. So it's fantastic to be able to share that with your dad. Thank you. It's been a huge learning curve for me in my career to be able to see how that's worked. And as I said at the start, I've told a lot of clients about that. So thanks for joining me, and thanks again.
Thanks, Ron.
Cheers.